All right, everyone. Welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. So this is for April 17th to the 23rd of 2017, and this is using the actual size and location of the constellations. So if you are new to the channel, or if you're just used to mainstream astrology, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different, and you want to make sure you're watching this video for the right sign. But what we're going to do first is we're going to look at this collectively for everyone for the week, and then after that get specific to each of the 13 different signs. So after you look at the general portion of the video, do click the timestamps down in the comment section to go to your specific signs. And I do recommend watching this for all three, basically your sun, your moon, and your ascendant signs. If you don't know your moon or ascendant signs, there is a birth chart calculator down in the comment section as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started because we do have a busy week astrologically speaking. As you can see here, a lot of aspects, and we even have two sign changes. We've got Mercury going retrograde back into Pisces, and the Sun going into Aries, coming out of what has been a very watery time here at the end of the week around Friday, Saturday. With the Sun going into Aries, probably a bit more focus into the external matter of things and a bit more clarity as well. But let's go ahead and break this down. As a general gist to the week, I do want to say that we are in the third quarter phase of this lunar cycle. So we're between what was the full moon last week and what will be a new moon next week. So we're halfway in between basically what the third quarter is from last week, whatever insights or things that culminated, awareness that came to the picture, right? All of that is great to be implemented this week. Okay, and anything you can do to set intentions with, to take some steps towards that you feel like you may want to challenge yourself with or initiate, it does make it a fantastic week to do that. And then as we go through the rest of this week, but mostly going into next week, we're going to notice more of the energies dying down, which will then be creating space for the new beginnings next week. All right, but the most important thing about the third quarter is that it is a week of initiation and taking steps towards whatever you've been guided to do over the past week, roughly, or maybe longer. But all right, so with the general look, let's look at this for each day of the week, breaking this down. So coming into Monday, we do have the Sun trining up to Saturn. I think Monday is going to be a grounded day. I think it makes it really good for anything that does require discipline, responsibility, and just patience. And so anything that could be productive could be very strong and supportive on Monday. We'll look at this to see which houses this is for you specifically, because for some of you it might be about groundedness in relationships, others with family matters, or whatever it might be. But I think collectively there is this grounded quality about Monday, most certainly. There's also still a bit of electricity from Sunday if you were feeling a bit of the passion or wanting to connect and a bit of the relationship energy being strong or emphasized. Monday can be great for that as well. All right, then as we get into Tuesday, Mercury slowly but surely starts to shift into Pisces retrograde. So what's important about this is that Mercury has already spent a lot of time in Pisces. We've had a lot of energy in Pisces already. But about 3 weeks ago, he left Pisces, and now he's coming back in. All right, so while the Sun is still going to be in Pisces as well up until that Friday and Saturday, there is a lot of this watery energy still up until about the later part of the week. So with the Mercury retrograde in particular, what I would recommend is, Mercury being the side of ourself that wants to have things figured out and wants to know things, right? Tangible things. It's the mind, and it's the rational part of the mind specifically. So if you're feeling like there's confusion or your mind's going into the watery side of life, into the ocean, metaphorically speaking, it is very good to, as best as you can, detach and surrender everything that we don't know. Because the things we try to figure out with Mercury debilitated in Pisces, this is a weak placement for him. It's a weak placement for our mind. But the more we try to figure out this kind of placement, it can create confusion, doubt, a haze. And so the whole purpose of this is for us to go within for our intuition. What is our inner guidance saying? Meditation, journaling, things like this can really help that come about. So there is that shift, and I think it is adding to what already has been an intuitive time, but especially with Mercury, with our minds, accessing that inner guidance. All right, so there's that shift around Tuesday. And then about Wednesday and Thursday, the Mercury retrograde is going to conjoin up to the Sun. So they're going to meet up right up here in Pisces before the Sun shifts into Aries. What you're looking at here, by the way, is a little bit later. This chart is actually casted for Friday, Saturday. So before that, around Wednesday, Thursday, the Sun will be about where Mercury is here, and there'll be a conjunction. And so that conjunction, I think, is going to be emphasizing that, yes, we're rethinking a lot of things right now. We are. There's a lot of retrograde energy, and specifically with Mercury retrograde, all of this stuff that you're reconsidering, rethinking, this middle part of the week, it might be giving you some insight. And so I think it makes it a great couple days to, again, go within for that inner guidance, but knowing that there could be some insight about it, and maybe even learning more about what you're passionate about, what you enjoy, how you can let go and surrender and access a bit of that information, a bit of that insight. And usually with the Sun, it's not so much the mental insight. It is intuitive because it's Pisces, but the Sun is more of like the crown chakra. It's more like information just kind of coming in from a higher source, from the energy, right? From the spirit, you could say. So there is a shift, and I think while we're still reconsidering things, I think Wednesday and Thursday, there could be something new, whether it's a new perspective, a new insight, specifically regarding with whatever we've been focused on. And again, I think a type of higher insight there with that. And to sort of emphasize that too, if you're feeling a lot of passion Wednesday, Thursday, like there's a lot of that sun energy, that solar energy coming through, which can sometimes be the case when these two planets come together. It is good to, again, write, speak, communicate, get this insight, this passion, this energy out in healthy ways to help work with it. Otherwise, it can turn into a jitteriness or like a lot of this fiery, energy, especially with the routine and the communication and things like that. All right. So again, I think it's just good to use the mind, put it in practical things, write things down, and then that can help balance out that energy, especially because that's going to help the intuition as well. All right. So that's the middle part of the week. Thursday, we do have Pluto going retrograde. So, this is an outer planet, very slow moving planet. And so when these go retrograde, they go retrograde for about half of the year and every year. Okay. So it's very deep in terms of their interpretation, right? It's not like when Mercury goes retrograde, which is a very personal part of ourselves. It's our mind, it's an everyday thing. This is just very deep. We may not even notice the retrograde. The most important thing will be that the house, which we're going to look at for each of you specifically, that area will likely start to go through a reconsideration, wherever Pluto is in your chart. But collectively, there can be now, on one level, something being released, something that we're detaching from, some sort of fears that are being released and detached from. That's the shift that the retrograde can produce. Because essentially what's happening now is with retrogrades, in a way, it takes the emphasis out of the external manifestation of things and puts it into the internal manifestation of things. So what I mean by that is we may actually feel like there's a pause, that we get a bit of a break with what has been the deeper transformations in our life, of the facing fears, of the making the changes, and all of this deep stuff in Pluto. So we get a bit of a break from the deeper side of things. But for the next 6 months, what we want to do is we want to be sort of, thinking about and reconsidering, what we can do to make the changes that we do want to see in our life. Now, they may not be happening externally, but internally, the guidance is coming in. We even could be transforming within, right? The inner fears, the personal stuff that's, been preventing us from making the changes we do want to see. Can make it an excellent time for discovering that and just getting more in contact with that. But I would say in terms of this week, there is this shift of a pause from the probably more outer changes, the deeper stuff that we've been seeing in our life, whatever that's been for you specifically. And then also two, this now shift of literally releasing some fears, releasing some things we're attached to, which can liberate us a bit, free us up. Again, coinciding with what can feel like a pause with that stuff. All right, so that's the shift with Pluto. And then Friday and Saturday, we have the last of this Venus squaring up to Saturn. These past couple weeks have been requiring a lot of patience and responsibility with relationships, most generally, usually, right? Venus is relationships generally. But this is because Venus has been slowing down, and she recently went direct last weekend. So what that means is that this week things are moving forward with relationships. If there's been things on the back burner since early March, this is a week where a lot of stuff starts to move forward with either your perspective of them or of them quite literally in your life. But with the square to Saturn still this week, and this could be emphasized on Friday, is being very patient. All right, being very patient with the relationship, seeing the big picture. The responsible approach, the slow and steady approach, can be very good for integrating, all right, this week. So I also want to say, too, that Venus is generally our values. So our values are moving forward this week, but at the same time, anything that you do value could be material stuff, resources, finances, but, you know, anything like that. It does make it a good time to be patient with that stuff as well, okay? And there could be a shift on Friday where we're sort of integrating this patience. We are seeing the bigger picture, and any steps we can take to facilitate that can be fantastic. All right, and then as we get into Saturday, the sun starts to shift into Aries. So this is the first step of a slow but surely, it actually kind of has been a slow but surely we're removing more of this Pisces energy. We're coming out of that very watery time that it's been for such a long time, because we've had a lot of planets in Pisces these past couple months. But anyways, the sun, a very vital part of our life, of our personality, going into a very active place. In fact, the sun is exalted in Aries, loves to be in Aries. It's a very good placement for our outer focus. So while we will still have Mercury and Venus in this watery time, probably still creating the intuition with the mind, as I was saying with Mercury, and then maybe even, you know, all of this stuff we've been learning about letting go with relationships and finding compassion and understanding there. With our vital life force, there's a shift into the more active side of things. So I think we'll certainly feel this Friday, Saturday, going into next week. We're focused more on our personal needs. We've got greater energy. We've got greater awareness about things because it's more in the world. You know, Aries is more in the world, whereas Pisces is more nebulous. And our self-expression can be invigorated, our energy, our motivation, our focus, things like that. Okay, so we'll see what house that does shift for you. But generally this week, what I would say is it is a great week for taking steps, taking actions, cultivating whatever insights you did gain from last week's full moon. Just to break it down day by day, Monday, good grounded energy. On Tuesday, Mercury's going retrograde back into Pisces. All right, so using that intuition for insight. Then as we get into Wednesday, Thursday, some new information, some new perspective shift about what we're reconsidering at the moment with Mercury retrograde going over the sun. Friday, Saturday, or Friday in particular, good for patience with our relationships and our values. And that Pluto going retrograde right around the middle part of the week as well, suggesting this sort of shift of detaching, feeling a bit freer, not as deep, not as intense in the area that Pluto is in for you. And then as we go into Friday, Saturday, the sun shifting into Aries, giving us a bit more vital life force energy. All right, so let's go ahead and break this down in more detail for each of the different signs. You can now click the timestamp down in the comment section to go to your signs portion of this video. Welcome, Aries, to your portion of this weekly forecast. So let's have a look first at Mars, your ruler in the second house. I think a lot of you are motivated towards the financial or material side of life at the moment. Even though it is still a very watery time, up until that sun goes into your sign here Friday and Saturday. Up until then, you still do have a lot of this watery energy. Very good for you. Getting your meditative time, your alone time, working behind the scenes, listening to music, anything that really helps you connect to what I just generally call either the spiritual dimensions of life or your inner psyche, your inner beingness there, right? And seeing where you can accept and let go, which is what things like meditation and getting our alone time does help us do. It helps us really get in touch with our inner self and do the acceptance that then does lead to more peace and tranquility in our life. But anyways, yeah, Mars in the second. We'll talk about this in the financial section, but very good for motivating yourself towards any of the things you value in life, whether it's material or otherwise. I do also want to mention that that Pluto retrograde midweek will be in your ninth house. So a lot of you are going to be shifting your whole perspective again, as you have for many years with Pluto in your ninth house, but shifting your perspective about what's possible, about your belief systems, about seeing things in a new perspective that can help you open up to just a greater, more expansive view of life. So it does make it good about around Thursday to, allow, just be aware of this whole shift with your perspective on your life, on life in general, and just the spirit of things, the adventurous spirit of things. And through that, what you're going to find is that this has been more of a deeper area for you, that it does give a bit of a pause here and a good time to go within over the next 6 months to see what are your belief systems, how is your life path changing, what are these perspectives that are shifting, and sitting with it, just internalizing it. And that could really help, at least this week, facilitate what could be a shift and a change in this area. For some of you, if it is involving university or travel, things of that nature, it's a good time to reconsider those things, and you may notice some sort of shift with those things as well. All right, so that's going to be that Pluto, but let's go ahead and talk about the financial stuff a little bit more. Mars in the second house, yes, very good for really, getting into the active, direct, motivating side of things when it comes to this area of life. Now, mind you, your second house ruler, Venus, is in the 12th house, and she's, first of all, recently gone direct last weekend. So a lot of you are going to notice this week that things are moving more forward for you with financial material stuff. But she's in your 12th house. And she's been there for a very long time, months. So while things are moving forward, and yes, you're motivated here, there is still a lot of uncertainty about it, more than likely. Or some of you are finding ways to make income and money in ways that are more behind the scenes, or maybe about spiritual things. Or some of you might be giving, and through your giving, you could be receiving, right? Things like that. The 12th house is very much about compassion, giving, so even like things like social work, things that contribute, they're based on compassion and all of this. And even to art, some of you could be even making money or thinking about making some income through art and music and that kind of a thing as well. But I would say most fundamentally for all of you, there is this nebulousness about it. If we try to figure it out, like how are the finances going, what is going on with it, it's important to listen to your intuition and surrender as much as possible in this area, which will free you up and allow that energy to flow, because it is saying that there is some stuff trying to flow in this area the more we surrender. Now, mind you, Venus is going to be squaring up to Saturn again this week. So here around Friday, if there's anything you can do that is patient or responsible with the finances, the long-term thing, I think is a great way of working with that square. Just being patient around this later part of the week with that stuff. All right, so let's go and look at the work sector. This is seen by Mercury with your daily activities. He's retrograde. Very good time to be redoing your work, whatever you do on a daily level. Time management, energy management. Jupiter's also retrograde in your 6th. So there is potential with the daily activities in your routine and your work. It's just a lot of retrograde energy. So be as flexible as you can and maybe reconsider and still redo, which I think you have been maybe redoing or reconsidering some things with that daily stuff. And of course, with Mercury going back into Pisces on Tuesday, into your 12th house, there might be some uncertainty. There might be some internal stuff going on. As I said, it's a very internal time for you. But again, listen to that intuition when it comes to your work. And maybe your work, maybe again, you're just working behind the scenes, or maybe you're just bringing in a bit more presence into your everyday activities. And, it kind of needs that. It's saying that whatever you do on a daily level, maybe it's good to take a pause. Maybe you should, I don't know, if your guidance is telling you, take a break or get some rest, relaxation, things like that to help this area. Because without, presence and acceptance and surrender, we can't have good work and good daily life, right? Without a willingness to let go and rest and recharge and stuff like that. So it could have something to do with that for you. But I do want to say that here on Monday, on a minor note, you do have the Sun trining Saturn, so it could make it a good productive day coming into the week here. All right, now let's look at relationships. We've got that Venus again, who rules your 7th house. She's in the 12th. So yes, all of this stuff that, first of all, you have been reflecting on with relationships since early March is moving forward for you now. But again, it's about the 12th house. It's about letting go. It's about compassion. It's about understanding. It's about connecting, I think, to all of your relationships in a much more receptive and spiritual sort of way. And then around that Friday time with Venus squaring Saturn, that day, just like with the finances, being patient and responsible or long-term with the relationships. Because these past couple weeks with the square up to Saturn, it has been suggesting that there is something that you're integrating for the long term, integrating with your responsibility with relationships that is needing this bit of integration at the moment. All right, so Aries, that is the week in a nutshell. As I said, I think importantly, going into the weekend, the sun goes into your sign. Happy birthday for those of you very early Aries watching for your sun signs, but all of you now for the next few weeks should have a bit more of that vital life force energy, self-expression, although still receptive because you'll still have Mercury and Venus there. The sun is, of course, a very fundamental part of our personality, and in the first house can really give us that clearer focus on things. All right, Aries, so have a fantastic week. If you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comment section, and I will see you all next week. Take care. Taurus, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's first have a look at your ruler Venus, who is in your 11th house. You have a lot of 11th house activity and have been for the past couple months at least. Yeah, I think a lot of you are starting to move forward a bit this week because you've had Venus retrograde up until last weekend, since early March. And so, yeah, maybe things involving your aspirations. I think a lot of you have learned a lot probably about your future aspirations and things like that over the past months, but now that's starting to move forward. So your hopes and wishes, things like that can be great for motivating yourself towards and putting energy into. For others, this might have to do with your friends or your network circles. Maybe learned a lot about community or your friends these past couple months, and that's also moving forward as well. So it can make it a great week for implementing, this energy, spending time with your friends, connecting to your network circles. For some of you, maybe, social media, community-related things, just being a part of something larger than yourself, I think can be an excellent thing to enjoy while Venus will be there for the next roughly month and a half, I believe. All right, so along with that, you do have Mars in your first house, so you've been very direct lately. I think that's continuing. I think there is motivation and drive certainly available for you. There's a greater awareness about your personal needs at the moment, and that's not changing this week. That is still very strong with Mars in your first house. All right, I also want to mention too that along with this 11th house energy, you will have the sun going into your 12th at the end of the week, around that Friday, Saturday. So this is entering into what will be a more receptive time for you. With the sun, the 12th, good for alone time or rest or going within to sort of recharge before all these fast-moving planets go into your sign here in about, it'll start probably in about a few weeks, or about a month once Mercury goes direct and the sun will be well placed in your sign. But anyways, yeah, there is the shift into the more behind the scenes stuff later in the week, over the weekend. So if you're feeling like taking a step back or recharging or something like that, maybe listening to that guidance there. All right, so, and I also want to mention too, Pluto, going retrograde in your 8th house. A lot of you have been transforming on a very deep level the past many years, letting go of fears, freeing yourself up. And so there might be a bit of pause with the deeper stuff, because the 8th house is deeper, Pluto is deeper. You got a bit of a shift here. Maybe something is shifting with your whole perspective of what matters to you in life, or about the importance of openness and intimacy and vulnerability. But you get a bit of a break here, a bit of a pause. And if it is relationship related, maybe a bit of a pause too with that deeper energy there as well. All right, for the next 6 months. But the purpose of it is to reconsider, rethink about what really matters to you and how you can, yes, connect to life in that deep and vulnerable way. All right, so let's look at the financial side of things. This is seen by Mercury for you. Mercury's retrograde. It's supposed to be a time of, being flexible here and redoing. What can you redo with the finances? Can you maybe edit your budget, create a budget? Maybe you're just rethinking what it is you actually want in life. And I think a lot of this is about your aspirations still, right? So future things relating to finances could be emphasized. And so as you're just mulling over all of the things you value, I think at the same time, you could be reworking how that fits in with your future aspirations. So being flexible, being adaptive with what you value, being open to it, and just kind of seeing what comes your way over these coming weeks with Mercury retrograde and how that fits into the future, into the bigger picture of things. And a lot of you too are also re-examining your value with your friends and your network circles. What is it you actually value there? So that's also going to be a consideration for the next at least couple weeks here. All right, so that's the financial side of things. In terms of your work, this is seen by Venus. Venus is in the 11th. Yes, your work is also linked with your aspirations at the moment. Focusing on that. Now, what I do want to mention is that Venus is going to be squaring up to Saturn again here around Friday. So this is important for you and then also your work as well. But just be kind of cool, around Friday. Just be patient, do the responsible thing, whatever that means for you personally, and see the big picture and challenge yourself. Maybe there's some things you can do, some actions you can take to further those aspirations, to further your work, that may be challenging to do so, but you know it's the responsible thing. It's the long-term thing. And so I guess doing that, or just working hard that day, not too hard and not taking things too seriously either. But if there's something that's uncomfortable that you feel like is beneficial for you for the long term, it might be a good maybe few days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but certainly around Friday, to be cultivating that. And this has already been the theme. This was emphasized last week as well. And it does feel like there's just a bit of restriction with you at the moment, that there's just a bit of limitation in your life. But this will pass. And again, the best way of working with this is to take the bull by the horns and actually implement that responsible, patient, grounded energy of Saturn. This may also involve relationships on another note, as it has been maybe patience there as well with Saturn in that 7th. But I do want to say, in terms of your work, here on Monday, coming into this week, you will have the Sun trining up to Saturn ruling your 10th house of career. You may find Monday a good productive time there for the career type of stuff. All right, so let's go back to the relationships here, looking at this more specifically. Your 7th house ruler is in the 1st, so I think a lot of you are, again, being direct and stuff, and just more clear on what you want. And that, I think, is very much translating in your relationships. You're becoming more clear about what you want in relationships. You're likely more direct, more assertive in them. And a lot of this has been because you've been grounding this area over the past couple of years. A lot of you just been, like, because of this more serious approach, a lot of you have been wanting to connect to relationships in just a less of an artificial way and in a more of a deeper way, in a grounded way, connecting to what you truly value in your relationships and all of this. But you've been grounded here. And so there's a lot of positive support with Saturn in your 7th now retrograde, where I think a lot of you are reconsidering some things about commitment, how, the bigger picture with relationship, about the importance of responsibility in relationships, but be flexible there. And I think as long as you're continuing to motivate yourself, pursue your personal needs at the moment, become clear about what you want, I think that's going to directly support those relationships, both in the short term and long term. And not to mention, too, you do have Jupiter in your 5th. So a lot of you, although maybe the past few months, couple months, not so much, but generally, there is great opportunity for you to be expressing yourself at the moment and having a bit of fun and playfulness and getting out there, and just getting into the, expressing yourself into the world, and hobbies and interests and things like that. That's been Jupiter in your 5th house, and it could be certainly emphasizing a bit of playfulness and fun in your relationships, and also even romance for some of you. But again, Jupiter is retrograde, so you're also, along with that Saturn retrograde, reconsidering, rethinking what it means to express yourself, what you actually find fun and romantic, perhaps, that kind of a thing. But Jupiter will go direct in early June if you do want to know when things, I think, will start to shift in this more expressive part of relationships for you. All right, so Taurus, that is the week in a nutshell. I want to thank you all very much for all of your likes, comments, and shares. If you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comment section. Wish you all the very best, and I will see you all next week. All right, Geminis, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's first have a look at, of course, your ruler, Mercury, who is retrograde. Good time to be flexible, adaptive, learn about things, and redo some things. That Mercury is going to be going into your 10th house early this week, which is the house of career, which we'll look at more specifically here in just a few minutes. But knowing that it is, while a good time to be reflecting on who you are, what you want out of life, maybe that very much is associated with your career right now at the moment, the productive side of things. So going within, maybe taking a step back, as it often is sometimes healthy to do when a planet is retrograde or ruler is retrograde, and learn. See what you can learn. Try a bunch of new things generally in your life. But again, it could be emphasizing that career. You've had a lot of career emphasis already. You've had a lot of planets there. A lot of you are seeing what you value in your career. A lot of you will still be very much focused on that. And by career, I mean anything productive, whether it's for profit or not. Anything that's about achievement and success and what you're providing for the public or for society. But you are going to have the sun shifting into your 11th here at the week's end, Friday, Saturday. So a lot of you may feel like there's going to be more focus on your future aspirations and maybe even the value, just like that Venus in your 10th, the value of your work and career. What is it actually providing for you, the income or the satisfaction of it? Others you may notice going into next week, you'll be focused more on your friends or your network circles and groups and organizations, things on that level. So let's go and break this down now further, looking at your finances. This is seen by the moon, who is going to be in the third quarter phase this week. So it is a good week to challenge yourself here. It's very cyclical for you, the financial stuff being ruled by the moon. She rotates the entire sky every 29 days. So when she's in this third quarter phase, it's a good time to sort of prolong. What actions, what steps can you take to be patient, reserved, and prolong the financial side of things this week, for the long term there, doing the responsible thing there, and any steps you can take to cultivate that area could be emphasized as well. All right, now looking at the work sector, Mars, who does rule your 6th house of routine, is in the 12th. So a lot of you, I think, are working a bit more behind the scenes at the moment, or maybe your work is involving a bit more of a tranquil energy, or you're meditating with your, it's good to have a meditative approach to your daily activities and things like that, getting a bit of rest as well. When Mars is at 12th, it's good to get things done in a much more receptive way, to listen to our intuition, to see where things are flowing. And then once we find where things are flowing, then put our energy into that. And it often reminds me of like the spiritual warrior too. So when it comes to your work, it's like you've got the action, obviously, with your work, but then, in order to do that, it's important to have a very meditative approach, like a samurai. They're warriors, but they're very present, very aware of the now moment, and that's what makes them actually so powerful, right? So for you with your work, I think bringing in that intuitive approach to things could really be beneficial at the moment. Or some of you may be just taking a bit of a break or pause with some of that. But as I said earlier, there's a lot of 10th house, which is more of the career energy going on. And, that Venus who's been transiting, she's recently gone direct. So a lot of you have learned a lot about what you value with your career since last weekend. And so applying that this week, implementing what it is you value about your career. Be patient with some of those values, though. Saturn will be squaring up to Venus here around Thursday or around Friday. So, just maybe working hard that particular day, not too hard, but in a way that you're just seeing the long term, the patient, grounded approach to your career at that time. Okay. And what else we got? Yep. So then, as to reiterate, Mercury retrograde, be flexible with the work and career. Maybe some of you are actually redoing some things, and that's exactly what you want to do. How can you get in, restructure, reorganize some things to facilitate this productive or career area for you at the moment? All right, now looking at relationships, Pluto is going retrograde in your 12th house. A lot of you have been releasing a lot of past patterns, usually with Pluto, unhealthy patterns and unhealthy fears regarding relationships over the past many years. But you do get a bit of a break with that now, but maybe around Thursday, there might be a bit of a shift with this. So maybe a shift of perspective, shift of where you're probably releasing some fears, releasing some attachments to the whole relationship sector, which can be very freeing, and that can very much directly benefit a lot of your relationships, which at the moment, I think a lot of this is about connecting to your roots with relationships. A lot of you are with Jupiter retrograde reconsidering this home stuff, or this family or even health stuff. A lot of you are redoing your health at the moment. But as you do this reconsideration about both relationships and then also about your home or your health, that is directly contributing to it. So up until about June, while Jupiter's retrograde, just keep kind of redoing, rethinking, reestablishing yourself here with home and health. And I think you'll find that directly contributes to your relationship sector once Jupiter goes direct in June, which will also mean a forward-moving energy for your relationships as well. All right, so Geminis, that is the week in a nutshell. Hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, please comment down below. If you'd like a personal reading, there is a link in the comment section as well. But have a great one. Thank you again for all of your support, and I'll see you all next week. Cancers, welcome to your weekly forecast. So first, looking at the moon, your ruler, we are in the third quarter phase this week. So it is a good week for challenging yourself, taking any steps and initiative to prolong whatever insights you gained last week. And as you'll notice going into next week, there is more of a lowering of energy, but this is kind of like the fall time in the analogy of the garden. It's the time when we want to prolong the harvest. Right, we want to take some of those grapes and turn them into wine, for example. It's a really good analogy I've heard for that. And so doing that, taking the steps, working at it, prolonging things generally in your life, and again, maybe specifically with whatever those insights were last week, is a fantastic way of working with this week. Now I do want to mention Mars is in your 11th house, so it's really good to be motivated towards your aspirations for those of you who are feeling guided to do that. And then also too, a lot of you maybe with your, to connect with your friends and maybe more direct in your friendships or your network circles and group related things at the moment too. It could be a motivating factor and really good life force and energy there for you. You do have a lot of 9th house emphasis, which is about all of this work that you've been cultivating with your belief systems. I think with Mercury retrograde going into your 9th, you're going to find, like around Tuesday onward, a lot of you are going to be rethinking your belief systems. All right, what is your worldview? How do you see things? And what is your value even with Venus? What is your value with, the spirit of life, the adventures of life? And how can you enjoy that, whether it's through reading philosophy, spirituality, or whether it's through a bit of adventure, travel, or opening your horizons? It could be very enjoyable. And I think you're learning a lot about that stuff this week with Mercury going back into that ninth house of yours. All right, so let's go ahead and break this down into the segments here, looking now at your finances. You are going to have the Sun conjunct Mercury in that ninth house of yours here around Wednesday, Thursday. So midweek, yeah, I think a lot of you will be learning a lot about your finances, or there's some new information coming to light that you may feel like, yes, you want to kind of reconsider, redo. And again, I think this is about you seeing the bigger picture with it, as it has been with the Sun in your ninth. And some of you might even be gaining income from abroad, or have been, or, you know, involving things abroad, or marketing even. Maybe some of you are marketing your business and things like that, and that could be bringing in income. So thinking big and spreading the word is essentially the key to, I think, bringing in the financial stuff for the bulk of this week. Once we get into about Friday, Saturday, that Sun will be going into your 10th house of career. So going into next week, a lot of you will start to see that there's ways through specifically your career and work that could be producing more income and more value for you. And as a backdrop, you know, this whole North Node in your second house last year and this year makes this very good for you to be just generally learning about finances and the importance of having good material security in your life, whether it's through savings or investments or things like that. But just continue to learn about it. Life is helping you cultivate it. And I think this week there are some insights about it, as well as the shift to the more productive side of it as well. All right, now looking at the work sector, yes, that Sun going into the 10th. Friday, Saturday is also going to give you more of a focus on achievement, on success, on productivity. That's going to be very much emphasized going into the coming weeks as all the fast-moving planets slowly but surely make their way into that 10th house of career for you. But this will also be the area of new beginnings next week with the career and stuff like that. That Pluto is in your 6th, so a lot of you have been transforming your routine, your work, your health, but anything on that daily level. And so maybe if it's been more intense or there has been a lot of changes and transformations with this area, you do get a bit of a pause from that. And I think it'll be with whatever's shifting here on Thursday. All right, so around Thursday, there is this releasing of the fears, the detaching of the fears that then helps you enter into a next 6 months of, yes, where, you know, going within. Where can you make the changes with your routine or with your work and stuff that is more in alignment with what you're truly about? But you'll certainly get a break in the more external side of that. Usually, unless, of course, you got other personal things going on. Your personal chart's always the most important. All right, so that's the work sector. In terms of the relationships, this is seen by Saturn. Saturn is retrograde. A lot of you are still reconsidering relationships. And I think a lot of it's about reconsidering your self-expression. Okay, for about the past couple years, a lot of you have been sort of grounding your self-expression, you could say. I mean, there's like a limiting feeling with it, right? With like what is normally fun and expressive and enjoyable. Saturn comes into the 5th, it makes it quite serious. So it's that you want to be kind of serious with the things you enjoy. In other words, how can you prolong these things you enjoy and you're passionate about in your life? So on a relationship level, this is your self-expression. It's also romance for some of you, which again, self-expression, romance might be a bit limited, but it's that you want to limit yourself. How can you have grounded self-expression, patience, responsibility, you know, so you can enjoy things in the long term? And then in romance too, you know, where can you enjoy, you know, romance and that type of thing for the long term as well, if it is on that level for you. All right, but coming into the week on Monday, that Saturn does trine up to the Sun, so it could be a good opening of the week, a bit of support, and self-expression could maybe come easy on that day in particular. A bit of fun, playfulness, and just a greater, I think, flow when it comes to those one-to-one connections. All right, so Cancers, hope you all have a fantastic week. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any comments, please feel free to comment down below, or any questions. Wish you all the very best, and I will see you all next week. Leos, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look first at the sun, your ruler, who is in the 8th house and has been in the 8th house for really the past month and a half. So for the bulk of this week, up until Friday, Saturday, he will be in there, still emphasizing a deeper time of your life, or of the year, I should say. And so what you want to do is you want to use this time to really, express yourself in deep ways. Connect to life on a deeper level. Bring that conscious sun energy into your inner world. Where are their fears? Where are their traumas? Where are their inhibitions? Where are their wounds? And even patterns that you can break, that you can free yourself from. Patterns are sort of manifestation of fears. So as you bring that conscious light within, and all of the stuff that we all have within that we've buried under the rug, now is the time of the year to be really bringing a lot of that to the forefront so you can accept it. You can do that healing and all this, and then again, getting vulnerable with life, which can directly translate into a greater connection to what matters most to you in life. And because you have all these planets here, it's involving a lot of different areas for you. So I think just generally getting deeper, open, vulnerable with yourself, with life, and even with relationships as a result of that, I think you'll find this is an excellent time for freeing yourself up. But I think there is a transformation occurring at the end of the week. Friday, Saturday, your ruler goes into the 9th. This typically means that there is a transformation. When we finish the 8th house, it's the final transformation. We go into the 9th house. This is the house of the butterfly after the cocoon phase, after the metamorphosis, okay, after that inner process. So I think a lot of you will be feeling that, even though there will still be a lot of stuff you're going to be rethinking about what matters to you. With Mercury retrograde in that 8th, Venus is here. What do you value on a deeper level? There's still 8th house energy, but when it comes to you and your vital life force, I think there is a transformation. And going into next week, probably feeling a bit more adventurous, a bit more open-minded, and free-spirited in general. All right. So let's go and look at this in terms of your finances this week. This is seen by Mercury, who is retrograde. It is good to be flexible right now, adaptive, maybe rework the budget, the finances, things on that level, right? And in the 8th house, what you'll notice probably going into this week is either maybe redoing some debts or reworking things in terms of other people's money sometimes, or shared resources. I think a lot of you will be thinking about that. What can you kind of redo, rethink in this area that can facilitate any investments or financial matters for you, okay? Now that Mercury is going to be conjunct the Sun Wednesday and Thursday, your ruler, so there might be a new shift, a new understanding about all this, particularly midweek, about finances, about what you value in life. And it is an expansive time for you, with values and finances. You do have Jupiter in your 2nd house. Now, mind you, Jupiter's retrograde, and he's been for about the past 2 or 3 months. And so, yes, it's been already a good time for you to be reconsidering this area and maybe taking a step back with it. But once he goes direct in June, I think you'll notice a lot more of that forward-moving energy with the finances. So with both now Mercury retrograde and Jupiter retrograde, who are both associated with your finances, just very good to be as flexible, adaptive, and rethink this area. All right. Now, in terms of your work sector, this is seen by Mars, who is in your 10th house. And a lot of you are motivated towards your career, your productive life. That can be very motivating factor for you, in fact. And maybe more direct with, through your work or those you work with or your public image, things like that. Very good. And the motivation can be very strong for you generally in your life, with Mars being at the top of the chart where he is in his greatest strength, especially as the sun starts to make its way to the top as well. All right, now the other side to your work is Venus, who rules your 10th house. And so I think a lot of things are moving forward for you with your career. If you felt like since early March, there's just been a lot of redoing or things on the back burner with it, I think this week you're going to notice a lot of forward-moving energy with the career stuff, both because Mars is there and Venus is direct. So with Venus squaring up to Saturn still this week, this was also last week as well. Maybe here around Friday, just being patient with the career stuff, the productive stuff, maybe challenging yourself if there's anything that you may want to do for the long-term, value of things versus the short-term values. I think can be a great time to do that. And all week long, just being still patient, even though things are moving forward, being patient, grounded, and responsible when it comes to that productive stuff. All right, now looking at relationships to top off this reading, this is seen by Saturn, who is still retrograde. So a lot of you are rethinking, reconsidering some stuff with relationships. But a lot of this is based on what you've been building with your home or your health over the past couple years. So as you rethink maybe some of this home and health stuff, home or health stuff, for some of you it's one or the other, but it's like this, it's your roots. But as you reflect on things here and maybe reestablish, rebuild your foundations, that's going to be directly relating to your relationships, directly benefiting them in some way, because it's saying that, you know, your relationships right now are really needing this sort of stability, or you're wanting this stability in your relationships. And you could be, you know, meeting people and stuff through your, you know, it's just like family relationships or around your home and things like that. And so as you establish your home, as you establish even your health and feeling good emotionally, that does directly contribute to the relationships. And really the key is that right now it's supposed to be about your independence, right? You got the North Node in your sign all year long, as it was last year. And so it's a great time for rediscovering you, rediscovering what you want, what you enjoy. And then the more you gain more self-awareness and a greater awareness of what you want, generally in life, but also in relationships, you're going to find that directly benefits your relationships. All right, because it is suggesting there are some past energies, some things being released regarding that relationship stuff with the South Node in the 7th. And as you release, you're gaining more awareness of yourself, which then contributes directly back into stronger connections. All right, so Leos, hope you have a fantastic week. I do want to thank you all very much for all of your likes, comments, and shares of this video. And for those of you who've shared the word about Sidereal Astrology. But wish you all the very best. If you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comment section. And I will see you all next week. Take care. All right, Virgos, let's have a look at your weekly forecast. So let's, of course, start with Mercury, your ruler, who is retrograde in, well, what will be entering into your 7th house of relationships. So early in the week, around Tuesday, a lot of you are going to find that over the next about couple weeks, you're going to be rethinking some things involving relationships, okay? Existing ones, but also just the general perspective of relationships in your life. And how you can maybe give and take, have a bit of cooperative energy, and maybe work on communications in those relationships or whatever. But it's all because you're changing your perspective of them. And so allow yourself to do that. Allow yourself to be flexible these coming weeks regarding relationships, and learn about them, whatever that means for you personally, through them as well. You know, being willing to listen to others' perspectives and just be willing to share ideas and things like that can be very important. But generally, you know, when your ruler is retrograde, regardless of what house he's in, it is a reflection about you. All right, it's a reflection about what you want, what you enjoy in life. That could very much directly, you know, impact the relationships, right? Because in order to have good relationships, we do have to have good clarity about who we are and what we want. But allow yourself this flexibility to do that. Be adaptive. Mercury going into Pisces too, it could be a bit of a nebulous time, dreamy sort of time for you. This early part or after around Tuesday. So yeah, go within for your intuition. Allow yourself to maybe take a bit of a step back, a bit of a break. It's always a good idea to do that anyways when a ruler is retrograde. And through that inner guidance and just through this reflection, I think there is a lot of information coming to light. And as I said, you're learning a lot about yourself and your relationships. Now, I do also want to mention that Mars is in your 9th, so there is a lot of motivation and drive towards your belief system. Some of you may have lately been, this past couple weeks, more motivated to study philosophy or spirituality. Others may be getting in a bit of that adventurous spirit in your life. But I do want to mention that Mars in the 9th can give you a good vigor and motivation towards expanding your mind or expanding your horizons. Okay, so that's an energy going for you there. Now, let's go ahead and break this down in terms of finances. You do have Venus in your 7th house. So a lot of you, as I was saying, there's a lot of emphasis on relationships at the moment. And so it could be somewhat linked to your finances. Maybe it's partnerships, financial partnerships. Maybe some of you are doing legal things or involved with legal matters that is in some way involving finances. But whatever it is, yes, I think it's a great time to be connecting with others, maybe forming some partnerships or something like that, and getting legal, or doing things that are in a just and moral and right way when it comes to the finances, which I think is playing some sort of theme there, whether it's legal or not. Now, because Mercury is retrograde in the 7th house, it just generally, when it does come to, say, legal things or relationship things, yes, just be flexible, with contracts and stuff like that. Cross those T's, dot those I's, double check, and have multiple plans, because as the information changes about relationships and about legal matters, that can change things. So you just want to be as flexible as possible there. All right, so that's that's the financial side of things. Looking now at the work sector, this is also seen by Mercury, who rules your 10th house of career. So yes, since last week, I think there has been more of a reflection on your career. And I think it is linked with relationships in some way, whether it's understanding more about those you work with, or reestablishing partnerships. Some of you may be getting in contact with clients more, or redoing some things involving clients or those you work for or work with. All of that is, again, all part of this rethinking. So career stuff, big picture stuff, allow yourself this time to redraft, rethink the bigger achievement, the long-term goals and stuff. And then while you continue to reflect on this relationship stuff or whatever it is, that information, that shift and reworking there will also directly contribute to your career sector as well. All right, now looking at the relationship side of things, which we pretty much already covered because you've already got so much emphasis there. But I do want to mention that the Sun is going to be going into your 8th house of the deeper side of things here around Friday and Saturday. All right, so going into the weekend and next week, I think a lot of you will be taking some relationships to another level where it's about openness, vulnerability, the deeper, what really matters most, and connecting to your partner, those that, you associate with, even if it's just business, just in a more open way, in a more vulnerable way, and that can certainly strengthen your relationships and really help you see the value in your relationships. But that's a big shift. And all the stuff you're learning about yourself and learning about relationships, I think will likely contribute to you understanding more about what you value, both on a deeper level and just on a surface level as well, when it comes to those one-to-one connections. All right, so Virgos, the way I would sum up this week is Mercury, who rules both your career and yourself, retrograde in the house of relationships. I think as you're rethinking your goals, who you are, what you want, as well as existing and in the whole perspective of relationships in your life, it's impacting, it's involving a lot of key areas, also with your career there. The finances also involving relationships, one-to-one connections, or legal matters, which I do want to say too, with the finances, there is that square up to Saturn. So around Friday, that Friday time period, being kind of cool there, be patient with the financial material stuff, take the responsible approach to things. But I think a lot of the finances stuff is already moving forward for you because Venus was retrograde up until just recently, last weekend. And so now you'll likely notice this week things are moving forward with the financial side of things. But yeah, that is the week in a nutshell, Virgo. I hope you found this video helpful. If you do have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. I'll do my best to answer them. And if you'd like a personal reading, there is a link in the comment section. But I wish you all the very best. Thank you again for all of your support, and I'll see you all next week. Libras, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's first have a look at your ruler Venus, who is in your 6th house. Yes, your 6th house has been very heavily emphasized, and this is the house of your work or anything you do on a daily level. Some of you have been, and it is still an excellent time to be implementing your routine, your diet, your regimens. Some of you, your work, your craft at work, your routine with your work, time management, energy management, things like this. And just all in all improvement, seeing where things can be improved in your life and how maybe you can be improved. Self-improvement can be very strong when the ruler is in the 6th house. So anyways, your ruler was retrograde up until last weekend, since early March. So if you've been feeling like you've been a bit more reflective or things have been more on the back burner, things like that earlier, I think this week you're going to notice that there are things moving forward for you. And I think a lot of it's about applying and implementing all of this stuff you have learned about your work and your routine and your daily stuff that is so important for our growth and development. So great week for that stuff. Great week for implementing anything that is improvement oriented. I think you'll find a forward moving energy just in general in your life, regardless of what it may be about. Now, I do want to say that Venus will be squaring Saturn on Friday. So on Friday in particular, if you are feeling a bit of the limitation, and this was also last week too, so it's nothing new, but if you are feeling a bit of needing patience or needing some self-limitation like responsibility, seeing the long-term approach to things, I think that's a great way of working with it. It's being cool around Friday, being cool this week, because it's suggesting that you're building a more grounded perspective on things. And I think it might have to do with finances to a degree, which we'll look more at with Saturn in your 2nd. But being patient with finances, being patient with the work and routine, and also taking any steps that you may feel like you want to or need to take that are for the long-term growth, long-term benefits here, particularly around Friday, can be important this week. All right, so now looking at the finances more specifically, yes, that Saturn's been in your 2nd house for the past 2 years. And so Saturn is retrograde, so it is a good time to be maybe reconsidering, rethinking some of the financial stuff, the investments, the savings, things like that, the budget, rework some of that. And but at the same time, there may be less of a limitation on some level, less of feeling limited with the financial stuff. It's so you can go within and really re-examine this area. And it all starts with your sense of self-worth, your self-reliance, You know, getting in touch with your inner self-worth and knowing that you do have everything that you need to attain your true values in life. But nonetheless, with Saturn in the second, while he finishes there this year, I think it is great to take the slow and steady and responsible approach to financial stuff. Even though Monday you may find a bit of a flow with it, actually you have the Sun trining up to Saturn. So yeah, there is a bit of flow maybe, or just a bit of, you're feeling that self-worth, or there is some flow with finances slightly coming into the week on Monday. All right, now looking at the, actually, let me also say this. Let me clear my throat too. Let me say this also, is that you do have Mars in your 8th house. Now, Mars is your 2nd house ruler. In the 8th does emphasize that you could be working with other people's money right now. Could be good for maybe working with loans or debts in healthy ways, whatever that means for you personally. But also, too, maybe getting a bit interdependent, relying on others a bit, whether it's borrowing or not. You know, understanding that we live in a very interdependent world, of course, and we do have to rely on others. And yeah, whether you're working with others' money or sharing resources or whatever it is, I think that might be a key or a theme that is related for you at the moment. All right. So now looking at the work sector, yes, 6th house, as I said, in the general, very much emphasized for you right now at the moment. You do have Mercury retrograde going back into that 6th house early in the week around Tuesday. So for these next couple of weeks, what can you redo? What can you rethink? Even though your ruler is direct, you're feeling a bit more forward moving here. There's maybe some things with the routine and stuff that you can be reworking. So allow yourself the time to do that. Be flexible. All the stuff you learn and redo over these next 2 weeks will directly form as a foundation for you to cultivate this area. Because again, it's a very active area for you. It's a very important area in the chart. And it just all in all helps improve things, improve your life, improves your work, your routine, all that type of stuff based on what you're learning about that at the moment. And Jupiter, who does rule your 6th house of work, is in your 12th. So maybe getting that rest you need, taking a step back, maybe with that Mercury retrograde as well. You know, this is more about the receptive approach to the routine, and maybe working behind the scenes or recharging, stuff like that can also be important also. All right, now looking at the relationship side of things, you got the Sun going into your 7th house of relationships Friday and Saturday. This will be the area of new beginnings for you next week. So yeah, as you shift and start to focus more on relationships this weekend, I think you'll find that a bit awakening. You know, we have the Sun coming out of Pisces going into Aries. For you, it's, you know, it's very important for you. You know, you value directness, you value energy, you value people who are, you know, clear, know what they want, who they are. And I think you're just going to become, you know, more attuned to that. And I think as you focus on your on existing relationships as well as new relationships, you're going to find that that's a great source of energy for you. It could even be motivating you as well. And I think your relationships have been going through a deeper perspective these past couple of weeks with Mars entering your 8th house. So as I was saying on the financial side of it, good to be interdependent, but in the emotional side of it too, you know, developing trust and vulnerability in your relationships and all of your one-to-one connections, I think is very much important, very much being emphasized at the moment. All right. So Libras, I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section. Thank you again for all of your support, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. All right, Scorpio and Ophiuchus, welcome to your weekly forecast. So first, looking at your ruler Mars, who is in the 7th house of relationships. I think this is a great area for you to be focused, or I think you naturally already are, in fact. And so there can be a lot of directness in your relationships at the moment. I think a clarity about what you want in relationships, because of course, relationships need us to be clear on what we want and who we are. And I think that could be an emphasis at the moment. So this is new relationships and existing ones, but I think just generally your perspective of relationships is just much more direct, much more motivating, much more clear about the importance of who we are and the importance of even our partners and those we connect with also knowing who they are and what they want, having clarity there, and just getting down to the matter of things, the brass tacks, as it is with Mars. And even too, because Mars is associated with your signs of transformation and depth, even, that real raw connection there, the openness, the vulnerability in that relationship stuff as well. Now, I do want to mention there's been a lot of 5th house emphasis, so things involving your self-expression have been very much emphasized and still are this week, making it good for creative things, trying new things in terms of hobbies, interests, spending time with the things that are close to your heart or the people that are close to your heart. Could be, romantic time for some of you, or just having a bit of fun in your friendships or with your home life or whatever it is. But creative self-expression is really the theme. Now, Mercury is going retrograde into that 5th house here early in the week on Tuesday. So there might be some things you're reconsidering, rethinking, redoing involving hobbies, interests, creative projects, and again, those things and people that are close to our heart. So allow yourself the flexibility there, try new things, learn about what you're passionate about, what you enjoy, right? And I think you'll find that that really facilitates all the other areas of your life. But on some regard, things have moved forward here because Venus went direct in your 5th last weekend. And so there's this new value, I think, this new value about those passions, those self-expression, those interests. And, that enjoyment could certainly be moving forward this week, even though Venus is squaring up to Saturn, which will be, all week, but this is last week as well. If you are on some level feeling a bit limited with the self-expression, or there's some things to build or be patient with it, I think it's great to take that slow and steady approach to this area. Again, especially because Mercury is retrograde here. And but no, it's moving forward, but at the same time, it's about building, I think, the long-term enjoyments, the long-term passions, and things like that, particularly around Friday. All right, now looking at the financial side of things, Pluto is going retrograde in your 2nd house of finances. So this has been a very deep area for you, a very transformational area over the past many years. A lot of you have either found that you want to live more minimalistically, which is helping you financially, materially, to essentially release any fears and attachments that you may have in this area involving finances and resources. So with Pluto retrograde, there can be a releasing, some sort of shift around Thursday where you're shifting and releasing some attachments or some fears involving either your sense of self-worth or your resources externally. And you get a bit of a pause, I think, for about the next 6 months of now going within, doing the inner work of seeing what it is you can transform within yourself that can help free you up here. Because that's essentially what Pluto is doing. Pluto helps frees us up from the material world. And although, of course, we need finances and things to live, there is the ego that does get very attached to it. And Pluto is helping us remove that attachment, to have more freedom, more flow, less blockage. And there could be something shifting with that. And you do get a bit of a break, I would say, for the next 6 months if you have felt like this has been a very deep area for you externally, or transformational area. All right, but that Jupiter is in your 11th retrograde as well. So yeah, there already has been a reconsideration, I think, with the financial stuff on some level. But a lot of it has, in this sense, has more to do with your aspirations. I think a lot of you are either seeing where you can gain some income with the future, hopes and wishes, just future things in general, and even your friends or network circles perhaps deriving value from those as well, you know, networking for financial reasons or whatever it might be, or just through your friends or something, seeing financial opportunities, things like that. But Jupiter is retrograde. He's going to go direct in June. So up until that time, you know, it's probably more on an internal level anyways. All right, so that's the financial stuff. In terms of the work, we do have that Mars, who rules your 6th house of work, in the 7th. So yeah, all of this relationship stuff we're talking about in the self portion of this video of your reading, this could be directly involving your work. So some of you are maybe making connections with those that you work with or those you see on a daily level. Some of you with clients and that type of thing. But whatever it is, I think it's really good to, yes, get into the relationships, get into, you know, meeting those around your immediate environment, or reestablishing or improving relationships in general. And what you'll find is that directly contributes not only to your relationships, but also to your work sector as well. And not to mention the fact too that the sun is going into your 6th house of work at the end of the week, around Friday, Saturday. And so going into next week, I think you're going to notice there is more focus, more awareness about your day-to-day work. And this is also going to be the area of new beginnings for you. Some of you might be starting new jobs or new advancements or things like that. But, you know, that's probably more in terms of the new moon. I think now with just this shift, just focusing more on your work, your routine, time management, energy management, things like that. And again, those relationships can certainly help set the foundation for those new beginnings there that are around the corner. All right, now looking at the relationship side of things, we've pretty much covered it. Mars in the 7th, directness there, independence there, personal needs being strong in those relationships. Now Venus is also the ruler of that in your 5th. Does suggest that things are maybe moving forward in this area because she was, again, retrograde up until last weekend. So things are likely moving forward, but again, with that Venus squaring Saturn, it's good to just be patient with the relationship stuff, particularly around Friday. Think long-term enjoyments, you know, commitment, responsibility, or whatever that might be. And express yourself, right? I think that's what you've learned so much about. And having fun, playful energy, you know, whatever it is that those passions are there are directly supporting your relationships right now at the moment. All right, so Scorpio and Ophiuchus, I hope you all have a fantastic week. If you did find this video helpful, please like, share, and comment down below. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that as well, looking at your personal chart. But I do want to thank you all very much for those of you who've supported this channel over the years or months or however long you've been with me. And I hope you have a fantastic week. All right, see you all next time. Take care. All right, Sagittarius, let's have a look at your weekly forecast. So just as a recap, your ruler Jupiter is, of course, still retrograde up until early June. And so it is still a good time to be as flexible as possible. Maybe just continuing to reconsider some of that career stuff. Maybe productive things in your life, big picture stuff, achievement, success. All of that is going through a reworking. And so, allowing yourself the time to do that and maybe taking a step back. It's always good to recharge a bit too when our ruler is retrograde. Now, there's been a lot of emphasis on your fourth house of home and health, or home or health. And this is an area that will be of reconsideration for you, as it kind of already has been with Jupiter, who does rule your fourth as well. But also Venus was retrograde up until last weekend. So some elements are moving forward with your home and health. I do want to say that with Venus direct now. I think in a lot of ways, it's about what you value with your home, value with your health. And Venus will be squaring Saturn, so maybe there are some things you can do responsibly, take things nice and slow with. This is the energy from last week as well with Venus squaring Saturn. So just taking things in a longer term sense, doing the responsible thing. But nonetheless, I think on some level, there's a shift of value. A lot of what you've learned that you do value about home or about family and about your body and your health and things like that is starting to shift, is starting to move forward. But with that being said, Mercury is retrograde going into the fourth. So there are some things that now can be reworked here. Okay, so whether it's redoing the house or for some of you, it's maybe just reconnecting with your family. All of this stuff that now you're likely going to start to feel guided towards to rethink, reconsider, and redo involving home and family or home and health will be fantastic. And I think that's a great way of working with the week. Just being flexible, being adaptive here, and as a result, you'll be learning a lot. And all the stuff you learned will start to move forward as all these planets, throughout the months start to go direct. Mercury in just a couple weeks. All right, so that's the fourth house emphasis. You do have the sun going into your fifth house this weekend, going into next week. So there are new beginnings around the corner about your self-expression, about your creative side, and this weekend could be very good for connecting on that level. You may find some of you are getting creative, getting into your hobbies and interests, just all in all expressing yourself, whatever the medium might be, and connecting the things you're passionate about. And that's a great source of vital life force for the weekend and for the next few weeks with the sun in that fifth. Now, we have to talk about the fact that Pluto is going retrograde in your first house. Pluto's been in your first house for the past many years. And so a lot of you have been transforming a lot, changing. Your life's been changing. There's been this transformation. So there is something shifting with yourself here around midweek on Thursday that on one level you get a bit of a pause with, right? So it now turns the transformation internally. So for those of you who have felt like more of the external changes have been more like, happening to us, or they're just more like in the outer world, like our world's changing, you get a bit of a break from that. But for those of you that feel like there's this change that's already been happening within, now it's a time to kind of reconsider this, rethink it. Who are you? What is it that you want in life? But in a way that's non-attached, in a way that's, you're open to life taking us into a new direction. Because essentially what Pluto does is Pluto does strip away all of the fears, all of the attachments, all of the ego energy that makes us want to hold on tight, makes us want to hold on tight to even our identity and to our life and things like that. So there is a shift on Thursday where you're releasing this. You're releasing this grip. And that can be very freeing. And a lot of you may even feel quite liberated, quite freed up here around Thursday. All right, so that's the general portion of your reading. Looking at the finances, Saturn is retrograde in the 12th. So this larger theme has been more about having a bit of acceptance with the financial life, surrender, letting go. It's been the past couple of years, in fact, there with that. Saturn retrograde does suggest that it's a good time for about the next 4 or 5 months to be redoing the budget, rethinking the investments, or just be as flexible as you can in that area. But this week, Saturn's actually in good aspect to the sun anyways on Monday. So coming into the week, there might be a bit of flow with the financial stuff or your sense of self-worth. And again, that Venus squaring up to Saturn, maybe around Friday, just being cool with the financial stuff. Patient, long-term, responsible, whatever that might mean for you at that time. All right, now in terms of the work sector, this is seen by, first of all, Mars, who's in your 6th house. A lot of you have been probably more direct in your routine lately, which is very good. Great for getting things done with your routine and your work as well. Again, you are reconsidering a lot of the bigger picture stuff with your career with Jupiter retrograde in the 10th. But the rulers, Venus and Mercury, who rule your 6th and your 10th house respectively, are down here in the 4th house. So it's suggesting that, you know, it's supposed to be kind of a personal time, right? As I was saying, home and health or with family. And we can't have good work and career without good, you know, connection here at home. Some of you are actually working at home. Some of you might be thinking about working at home without Mercury retrograde. But yeah, Mercury retrograde. How can you rethink, redo some of the career stuff right now for the next couple weeks? And the routine, though, is starting to move forward. So with Venus direct, the routine is moving forward, but the bigger picture stuff is going through a reflection this week. And again, I think the reflection is what's important to you emotionally, what's important to your sentiments, what's important to your personal life. Building those solid foundations, I think, will directly contribute to your work and career sectors. Okay. And that Venus squaring up to Saturn, again, Venus does rule your 6th house of routine. Again, on Friday, just maybe being cool, patient, or responsible with the routine, or maybe challenging yourself if there's something that's uncomfortable that you know is best for the long term for you with the work sector, can be very supportive there. All right, so now in terms of relationships, Mercury, who does rule your 7th house of relationships, again, in this 4th house, is emphasizing that it is a great time to be connecting perhaps emotionally there. And as you're reflecting on maybe things of the past and reflecting on relationships and maybe relationships with your family or your soul family, if it isn't like biological family, maybe reflecting on the past about your relationships, all of this reflection that you're doing involving your relationships now with Mercury retrograde. It's going to help you understand more about them. It's also going to help you connect to them in a more emotional, sentimental, protective way. You know, this is the 4th house. It's about our intrinsic values. What is it we intrinsically and emotionally value about our relationships? And what have we learned about them in the past and all of this? And through all this reflection, I think you'll be learning a lot about relationships. I think a lot of them will get deeper emotionally, more nurturing, more protective, more caring. And yeah, and everything you learned during these next couple of weeks with that retrograde will start to move forward for you, that you can then apply during what is good to be now a very flexible time for you with those one-to-one connections. All right, so Sagittarius, I hope you all have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and share down below. And if you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comment section for that, looking at your personal chart. But I wish you all the very best. Thank you again for all of your support, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. All right, Capricorns, welcome to your portion of the weekly forecast. So let's first just do a quick recap about your ruler Saturn, who is retrograde in your 11th house. A lot of you are reconsidering your aspirations at the moment, future things. Some of you reconsidering friendships in your network circles as well. But generally, when the ruler is retrograde, it is good to take a step back from things, just be flexible and adaptive, because you're learning a lot about life, you're learning a lot about yourself, and you just want to be able to apply that once you learn about it. So the more flexible you are, the more flexible your life is, you'll find that you're able to do that much more in harmony. So along with that Saturn, you do have a lot of third house emphasis. I think there's a lot to be learning about the practical side of things. Some of you have been doing a lot of reading or writing, lots of things to enjoy about that, or working on your communication. Some of you connecting with your peers in your community or your siblings as well. So that stuff's been moving forward because you had Venus go direct last weekend. And so things are shifting about what you value about tangible things, practical things, your community, and even business and trade and things like that. But with that forward moving energy, Venus will still be squaring up to Saturn all week long. So just being kind of cool and flexible with, anything you're thinking about or doing in your immediate sphere. And just being patient long term there. Now, Mercury is going to go back into your third house. So yeah, maybe there are some things this week to relearn, rethink, re-edit. If you've been reading, going back, maybe rereading that book. If you've been writing, maybe going back and editing. If you've been in business and trade and that kind of things, going back and revisiting that. So, and even going back and connecting with your peers, revisiting those and your siblings. So there's that rehashing going on with Mercury retrograde, and that is adding to the importance of being flexible with your mind, with communication, with anything in that immediate environment. Now, I do want to say that at the end of the week, the Sun is going to go into your fourth house. So right around the corner, there's some new beginnings about your home life, your family life early next week. And for some of you, your health as well. And you could notice a shift towards focusing more on home matters or health matters this weekend. All right. And that Pluto, who is going retrograde on Thursday, I do want to mention, is really transforming your psyche, transforming yourself spiritually. A lot of you have been transforming spiritually and releasing any unhealthy habits and things like that over the past many years. And so as there's this shift, I think you're going to notice that, first of all, there's a bit of a pause for those of you who felt like it has been a very deep time for you of transforming your psyche and these deep spiritual things. You get a bit of a pause from that, but also there's a shift, and the shift will likely be where you're just releasing, you're feeling a bit freer around Thursday because you're willing to let some things go that are deep within, that maybe traumas, fears, things like that, not pushing them away, but they just kind of flow, they just kind of leave, and that kind of frees you up a bit and transforms you as it has been already for the past, as I said, many years there. All right, but that's behind the scenes, that's the backdrop. Now, in terms of the financial side of things, this is also seen by Saturn, who's in the 11th. I think it's great for you to be rethinking and be flexible with the finances, and also continue to think about those aspirations. There's something there about future things, future hopes and wishes, some of you speculation, things like that. That is the area in which you are developing your financial life. But, the real key right now is, I think, seeing where you can depend on others a bit, learn more about that. You got the North Node in the 8th house, maybe work with other people's money, or, fix or work with loans and debts in healthy and balanced ways. And I think that's a great place to focus as you release maybe old past life energy having to do with wanting to be self-reliant completely and all of that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there are some attachments, some energies that are being released there that can free you up. So yes, I think focusing on the fact that we live in an interdependent world and where we can rely on others, I think is a great focus for the financial side of things generally this year. All right, now looking at the work sector, this is seen by Mercury retrograde, who rules your 6th in the 3rd. Now with Mercury going into the 3rd, some of you might be actually redoing the actual writing or communication that is involved in your work, or the practical things in your work. So that's very good. With the retrograde, it's just good to be flexible with your routine anyways for the next couple weeks. and trying new things with time management, energy management, things like that. And just being open to learning, especially with all this third house energy. Third house is all about learning. Now, Venus, in terms of your overall career stuff, though, big picture stuff, that's moving forward with that Venus direct that I was talking about since last weekend. So that's moving forward. But the square up to your ruler Saturn around Friday. But again, this was in orb it's in orb all week, and it was in orb all last week too. It's just being kind of patient, slow and steady with the big picture career stuff. And I think with that perspective, I think you're building some long-term things here. Some good grounded energy could certainly be coming through this sector. And if anything on Friday you do feel like challenging yourself with the career, that may be uncomfortable, but you know it's best for the long term, could be a good way of working with that. All right, now looking at the relationship side of things, which is seen by the moon often for you, cyclical in nature. But we are in the third quarter phase, so it is a good week to maybe challenge yourself or take some initiative or steps towards anything relationship related that you did gain any insight about during the last week's full moon. But Mars, who is in your fifth house, a lot of you lately, these past couple of weeks, probably been more direct with your self-expression, which is great, or maybe more motivated to have some fun, right? Do some passions, interests, hobbies, that kind of thing. And that can certainly benefit your relationships. Some of you maybe wanted to get more romantic in either new or existing relationships. So self-expression, I think, is the key there. And as you continue to express yourself, that could certainly be bringing in a playful, lighter, energy into all of your one-to-one connections. All right, and even vulnerability too, because Mars is the planet of vulnerability. You got the North Node in the 8th house. As you express yourself in vulnerable ways, open ways, that also benefits your relationships as well. All right, so Capricorns, have a fantastic week. I want to thank you all very much for all of your likes, comments, and shares. If you did find this video helpful, be sure to do that. Like, comment, share the word of Sidereal. But if any of you would like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section. But I wish you all the very best. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you all next week. Take care. All right, Aquarius, let's have a look at your weekly forecast. So as a recap, your ruler Saturn is retrograde in the 10th. It is a good time for the next at least few months, 4 months, to be reconsidering some things involving your career or your work or anything else that you consider your achievements and successes in life. And just generally in your life, it's a good time to take a step back when the ruler is retrograde, be flexible and adaptive, especially this week because we do have Mercury retrograde. Now you do have a lot of energy in your second. We'll talk about that in the financial sector, but I do want to say that you do have Mars down here at the bottom of your chart. Really good time to be motivated towards home matters, family matters right now at the moment. You'll likely notice this shift going into this weekend. You'll probably be more focused on getting into the practical side of things. Could be a good weekend for learning, reading, writing, communication, things on that level, connecting with your peers, that sort of thing, and your siblings as well. And there's some new beginnings around the corner for next week involving these third house matters. But Pluto is going retrograde in your 11th house here on Thursday. So in terms of this transformation, the shift here, a lot of you have been transforming your perspective of your aspirations over the past many years and transforming your perspective of your friends and network circles. And so there could be a shift here. Well, now you'll be reconsidering your aspirations on Thursday, reconsidering your friendships or those you're connected to, and what they mean to you on a deeper level, and so if it has been more transformative, because Pluto is all about endings and beginnings and transformation with, again, your aspirations and network circles. If it's felt more on the external, you do get a bit of a pause, a bit of a break here for now, for you to go within and re-examine what these things mean to you internally, which will help you transform inwardly. And then once Pluto goes direct in about 6 months, then you'll be applying all of the stuff you're rethinking, reconsidering about these things. All right, so that's the Pluto side to it. Let's go and look at the financial side, because you do have a lot of emphasis here, as I was saying. So Venus has recently gone direct on some level. Things are moving forward for you financially this week. But then on another level, Mercury retrograde is coming back into the second. So I think what's moving forward for you is now a greater clarity about what you truly value in life. And this can be on a material level, but I think just in general. And with that Venus squaring Saturn, just being as patient as you can with those values, with the finances this week, as it was important last week. Kind of throttle yourself there, do the responsible thing. And then I think you'll find what you're doing is you're building things for the long term. Now, along with that, with Mercury going in here, retrograde on Tuesday and onward, what can you redo with the finances? Maybe, and with Mercury, it's usually like the writing. So maybe it's the budget, maybe it's the plan, maybe it's the thinking about it. And, what's the tangible, practical thing you can do to help give yourself more financial security, which is essentially what the second house is. But also maybe rethink, what are your natural gifts? What are your natural abilities, right? Because that's the second house. That's really what produces the finances too, it's our natural gifts. So learning about all this, being flexible with the finances is important too. And just all in all, and then with your inner sense of self-worth, knowing that you do have everything you need to cultivate your financial security, but maybe now rediscovering that, rethinking that with that Mercury retrograde. All right, now in terms of your work, you do have Mars, who rules your 10th house of career, down in the 4th. Some of you may find that right now you're spending more time at home or working from home, or there's some sort of link needed here. Some of you, as you establish yourself with your family, your home, your personal life, that could be directly contributing to your career. Some of you are just getting more emotionally attuned to your career. What does it mean to you intrinsically? And even through your relationships in your career, connecting more on an emotional level as well. So it's all about balance when you have the 10th house ruler in the 4th, that our career needs us to be personal, to have a good personal life, but maybe even bring in some of that personal life into the career a bit. And vice versa, maybe some of that productive energy into the home life. Some of you might actually be very productive around home. If you're not working from home, as I said, maybe you're just, getting long-term productive here, or redoing some things, structuring some things, for the long term, involving the home stuff, or thinking future about it. What are those future goals and achievements that you may want here involving home? All right, so that's important with your work sector. And the moon, who's your routine sector, is in the third quarter phase this week. So just generally, I think anything you can do to initiate, to sort of challenge yourself with your routine in healthy ways, can be beneficial this week. All right, now looking at relationships, this whole year, as it was last year, is about learning about relationships. That's your North Node in the 7th. But the Sun, who rules relationships for you, has been in the 2nd. I think a lot of you have been, and still will be up until this weekend. Be focused on what you value in relationships. And as you've been rediscovering more about, again, your value, your sense of self-worth, and all of this stuff, it has been directly contributing to your relationships. So some of you maybe even working too financially with your relationships. That's another possibility. But whatever it is, I think most fundamentally seeing what you value with your relationships up until this weekend. Then this weekend and going into the next few weeks, I think it's about more of the learning through your relationships, communication, right? Sharing ideas with others, practical things. That's what the third house is all about. And as I said, as you have some new beginnings next week about the more practical things in your life, I think you'll notice that that is about some new beginnings with relationships and the importance of communication there, the importance of learning, and just having some good mental stimulation in that area. All right, so Aquarius, that's the week in a nutshell. Hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, please comment down below. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. And if you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that. But yes, thank you all very much. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you all next week. All right, Pisces, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's first look at your ruler Jupiter as a recap. Jupiter's retrograde in your 7th. A lot of you are learning a lot about relationships at the moment. And that's the retrograde, rethinking them, reconsidering them, that sort of thing. But generally, when the ruler is retrograde, it is a time of reconsidering just things in life in general, what it is you want. In fact, there has been a lot of emphasis on you with all this first house energy. Venus here, a lot of you are understanding more about what you value in life. In fact, a lot of you with like your looks, your self-image, and how you see yourself and all of this, and even cosmetic things, all of that starting to move forward for you this week with Venus direct. Now finally, because a lot of you have been reconsidering what you value in life, what you value about yourself, and then of course your self-image as well. So Venus is going to be squaring up to Saturn, so I do want to mention that it is good to be patient with anything that is about those values, right, in the longer term sense, and anything that you are feeling like moving forward with. I think just taking it one step at a time. If you are feeling that restriction, I don't think it's going to be too much, but Saturn is squaring your first house, so if there's a bit of that limitation or restriction, kind of go with it. Do the patient, responsible, long-term thing there. In fact, you do have Mercury retrograde going back into your first house now. So maybe there are some things to learn about yourself, to reconsider about your goals, reconsider where you're headed. And for these next couple of weeks, while Mercury's retrograde, allow yourself this time to redo, rehash, rethink your life, what it is you want in life, what are your personal needs, things like that. And I think a lot of you will be learning a lot about yourself during this retrograde, which will then move forward, as I said, in a couple weeks once Mercury goes direct there. All right, happy birthday for those of you who still have your birthdays this week. Sun sign will still be in your, the sun will still be in your sign up until this weekend. So a lot of you, whether it's your sun sign or not, do have this sort of new beginning still unfolding. There's still awareness and insight coming in about your passions in life and you expressing yourself and having some fun and starting new things in this solar cycle. All right, so now looking at the financial side of matters, you do have Mars, the ruler of your 2nd, in the 3rd. So it is a great time to be getting into the practical side of your finances, or the writing side, through like the budgets or investments or plans, things like that. A lot of you are communicating very clearly, very directly about what you value in life, and that can help bring some clarity about that as well. Some of you are making income from things that involve communication or reading or writing or trade or business, things like that. That could be emphasized at the moment. All right, so in either way, I think it's good to just get practical, get into learning, sharing, and that could directly contribute to financial sector for you. You do have the sun leaving your first, going into your second over the weekend. As I said, the sun coming into the second now, though, going into next week, this is the area of new beginnings for you, finances. I think you'll notice that next week, once we have the new moon, there's some new seeds being planted here, but this weekend, certainly this new shift of, yes, what it is you value in life and how you can cultivate those values. All right, now looking at the work sector, you do have Pluto going retrograde in your 10th house of career. A lot of you, your career's been transforming over many years, and a lot of you have been releasing some fears and attachments and wounds and things involving just unhealthy patterns and past patterns involving your career or involving your association with your career. So now with the shift on Thursday, for some of you may feel like there's a bit of a lift. You're not feeling as deep here if it's been, again, more on the external with the transformations and changes there. Now it's the next 6 months of going within and re-examining what these things are that you do want in your career, but maybe you're blocking yourself because of the fears or because of the attachments. Attachments are basically when we have the fears, hold on tight, and it doesn't allow the energy to flow. But anyways, you get a bit of a pause with this. It gets more internal, and some of you may even feel a bit of a shift where things might start to shift here with your career in a way that does free you up and does transform your career in some sort of sense here around Thursday. All right, and it's always for the positive, of course, with Pluto, but the process is willing to let go, willing to change in order for life to change in a way that we may not know where or how it's going. All right, now involving your routine type of work, I think that has been emphasized lately. I think it still will be emphasized. Really good for that with the sun in your first house. Your routine, diet, regimens, things like that. But you'll likely notice this weekend probably more of a focus on, again, the financial side of your work. And I think that'll be a great energy to work with. And as I said, next week's new moon could be some new seeds being planted for both your finances and your work, actually. Your routine around the corner. All right, now looking at the relationship side of things, Mercury, who rules your 7th house of relationships, as I said, it's already emphasized. A lot of you have already been rethinking or reconsidering that type of stuff. But now even more so, with Mercury retrograde going back into your sign, as you're reconsidering all of this stuff about yourself and learning more about yourself, as I was saying earlier, that's going to be directly contributing to your relationship. So allow yourself this week and for the next couple of weeks this flexibility with relationships. Learn about them, be adaptive, be flexible. Some of you might be gaining some insight during the Wednesday, Thursday Mercury-Sun conjunction about relationships and maybe some new things starting there. But again, things are still up in the air. So having, just a sort of relationship perspective of understanding things are changing, and there needs to be a bit of that, adaptability and flexibility here, because as new information comes in or as things change in your relationships, it will take you into a new direction. And again, I think a lot of that is about the examination you're doing about yourself, which then as you change, your relationships are changing. Well, I would say, a minor sense, in a yearly sort of sense at this time. All right, but don't forget too that Jupiter's in your 7th, so Jupiter as a benefic, yes, there is still opportunities with the relationships. They're unfolding, even though a lot of things are being rehashed. And I think by June, once Jupiter goes direct, I think you'll see a lot more of the external manifestations with expansion when it comes to relationships and opportunities there in that area. But they're still certainly there. All right, so Pisces, hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. If you did find this video helpful, be sure to do that. Like, comment, and share. But yeah, hope you have a great one. If you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comment section for that. And I'll see you all next time. Take care.